Hello everyone. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Amy and I teach yoga and I train yoga teachers and I have the real pleasure of also working and mentoring other yoga teachers. Anyway, I've decided to hop on video today and just have a chat about something that I probably think about relatively frequently is why? Why do we practice yoga? It's a great question because me and lots of you probably dedicate a rather large amount of time to coming to our mat. And it's useful to think why. Or if you're thinking of starting yoga, it's useful to think, why might I start yoga? Interestingly, it's potentially more useful if you've been practicing for a long time, and sometimes our why also gets lost. So first of all, there's going to be a million reasons why you come to your yoga mat or why you may be considering coming to your yoga mat. And there is absolutely no right or wrong. So I kind of like to think of it like layers. And there's this first layer when we first come to our yoga mat, or we first brave a yoga class, or we first find on YouTube a free class to try, or we sign up to an online class, or brave going to an in-person class for the first time. I still remember my first class, by the way. And it may simply be you have absolutely no idea why you're there. Your friend told you to come along. My sister dragged me along to my first class. I had no idea why I was going other than just to follow my sister. Maybe the doctors told you, maybe you read in a magazine it would be good for you. Maybe there is a physical benefit you're looking from. And if I'm really honest about my why I start with it initially is I was in my early 20s. We'd recently moved to Cornwall. I was learning to surf. And I basically wasn't overly strong and I was struggling with the paddling and the pop-up. So, when I first started yoga, it was all a physical desire to be a bit stronger so I could keep up with my husband in the water. All physically driven. Well, that's what I believed at first. And actually, that's fine. If you're coming to yoga for some physical benefit, that's totally fine. Maybe your life's stressful, you're feeling stressed, mentally you're looking for some support, and that is another very valid reason why you may be drawn to yoga. But these are our first initial layers. So we go along to a few classes, we find a teacher we like, or we just begin to roll our mat out at home and do a little bit of practice. And we start to scratch away at the surface. We start to scratch away or burn away those layers of whys, and we come perhaps to deeper whys without even realizing it. So at first for me, it was all the physical. It was all about a posture, a shape, getting stronger, getting more flexible, achieving a posture, achieving a certain sequence. And then over time, I realized that actually it wasn't just a physical thing, that breath was quite significant to it. And it became a breathing practice for me. The movement was still there, but the breathing was part of the movement. And then in that layer of realization, suddenly the mind got involved, and my mind was not necessarily stiller, but calmer, given a point to focus on. And in the time that I was on my yoga mat, I didn't necessarily think about all those other things that were worrying me. And then all those other things that were causing me worry, I often felt less worried about them because I had a toolkit. And that was it for me. Yoga became a toolkit to help me feel more balanced physically and balanced mentally. And then for some of us, we find another layer. We find, I'm going to say spiritual, and it's not spiritual for everyone. It's not necessarily religious. Yoga is not a religious practice, but the philosophical side of the practice. And it started to make me understand that this physical practice that I started with was becoming a way of life. So it was becoming something I was taking off the mat. I was learning to treat myself better. I was learning to treat other people better, the environment around me. And the more I scratched down, the further I scratched, I realized that my yoga practice was firstly allowing me to be human. And what does it mean to be human? Imperfectly perfect. That is the human body, that is the human condition, okay? There are so many internal and external forces at play that, shunt us out of balance. And what does my yoga practice do? It doesn't keep me serenely calm all the time. No, hell no. But it gives me a toolkit. It gives me a place that I can come to find more balance. And then finally, when I drill right down to the center, it comes back to what really every why comes down to, I believe, and it was love. When we choose to practice yoga, whatever aspect of yoga we are choosing to practice, it's an act of love, it's an act of self-care. And then also, that's for you, but as that treatment to yourself changes the way you feel about yourself and the way you view the world, that love shines out from you. So it's an act of self-love. And then for me, it's allowed me to work really hard, and I'm still working really hard at this, to try and respond from a place of love to every situation and to every human being, which can be very challenging, I know. But that's why I practice yoga, for love. And it doesn't matter if you're like, I'm just coming to my yoga class so I can get really good at plank chaturanga. I can do a handstand, I can do a headstand. I'm coming to yoga so I can lie in shavasana for 15 minutes. They are all really valid reasons. And the more you practice, the more you scratch away, burn away at those layers. And at the bottom of that layer, I really hope you all find love. Namaste.